Staying Alive UK. Share your story.
Hello and welcome to the Share Your Story podcast series, a business biography, their story so far. I'm Michael D. Groot and I'm your host. My purpose through this podcast series is to inspire you to take the next step towards your new business venture or indeed develop your existing business even further. I only interview business owners who employ less than 9 employees, and mostly they will be on their own. So let's get straight to it. And I'm really excited to have an amazing individual on the podcast today. His name is Scott Watson. And before you hear from him, I'm going to give a very short introduction. Scott is an international consultant, executive coach, and leadership speaker with extensive knowledge and experience in developing emotionally intelligent leaders and managers. Clients enjoy Scott's collaborative, result-focused, and incisive collaboration. All will be explained, people, I promise you. Scott's extensive, in-depth research into leadership, entrepreneurship, and business optimization has successfully identified the methods, beliefs, habits, and standards leaders and entrepreneurs must understand and emulate to achieve the level of personal effectiveness and business success they want and need. And clients and their organizations benefit greatly from his extremely effective yet little known support. All will be revealed, I'm sure. He gets appointed by business leaders and human resources directors globally to optimize the effectiveness of their leaders, managers and teams, including people like General Electric, Radisson BLU Hotels and Resorts, AXA or AXA, DHL Express, TNT Post, Ministry of Defence in the UK and many more. Scott also goes by the name Mr. Emotional Intelligence. So, Scott, welcome to the Share Your Story podcast, Mr. Emotional Intelligence.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
Oh, good, thank you. I was thinking, as you introduced me, is that me? You said some amazing person's coming on, and apparently it is. So thanks for the invitation, first of all. I'm looking forward to our chat and also sharing thoughts with your listeners as well. So
brilliant. Well, I know you have an amazing story to tell, and so let's get straight into it. And first of all, what I'd like you to do, Scott, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Share with the listeners a little bit about your personal life. So where were you born? Where do you now live? And, how did you get there? Maybe a little bit about education, your family, whatever you want to share. You don't need to. Your hobbies and interests. So people get a perception. So let's talk about personal rather than business to begin with.
Sure. I'm the youngest of 7 children.
Whoa!
My beautiful mum was a maternity nurse that spent more time having kids than helping deliver them. And my father was retired out of the Air Force due to ill health and lungs and other challenges. So he wasn't able to work at a job as such, but he certainly worked at home from a number of kids. It does sort of spring to mind for me in when I was a child, the youngest of 7, trying to put up with everyone and get a bit of attention where I'd want to watch TV and my dad would say, when I was in our day, we'd make our own entertainment, and then I'd just look at the 6 children around me thinking, yes, you did. They were challenges, a very beautiful, loving mother that looked at collaborative kindness and paying attention to people and really listening and understanding people rather than just, nodding your head and thinking you understand. And a father that, from his Royal Air Force background, had continued into family life with a command and control approach to parenting that didn't really work for me, but looking back now to where it's helped me get, I'm glad it happened. And at school, I was very much pressured by my father into get your exams, get your qualifications, then life will be good. And one of the props I use at some conference speaking engagements that I do, also for educational audience as well, is my school report, because it kept saying must try harder, satisfactory, satisfactory, satisfactory.
Yeah.
And the only subject I was really excelling at was history, because Mr. Capener, the history teacher, wasn't just animated, he wasn't just passionate, he was collaborative and he was kind.
Wow.
So I left school with no O-levels as they were then.
Yeah.
I applied to college and wasn't accepted. In later life, as in just 3-4 years ago, I applied to 4 universities in the region. I live in Yorkshire. I'm still in Halifax. I applied to 4 different universities to undertake a certificate of education qualification, just to prove to myself that academia is pretty good and I could be really rather good at it.
Yes.
All 4 turned me down. But in the last 16 months, I've presented at all 4 universities and been paid to do so.
Yeah.
For me, that's just another example of education isn't everything.
No.
But it's something. And, you know, it's strange that two of the very same people that rejected me for study have appointed me to turn around their teams. So maybe I didn't need to go to university. And I say that with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. It's not to say I've got it right, they've got it wrong. They're good people, but they had to work within a system. And I'm not sure for me, some systems are flexible enough to undertake supportive learning for people like me that didn't do well at school but have gone on to do other things reasonably well.
Yeah.
So family-wise, I have a wonderful, understanding wife, Miranda. I have a beautiful teenage daughter, Isabel, who keeps me young and keeps me on my toes. And just as beautiful, Emilia, who's now 19 months. So by no means am I competing with my father in that score.
No, that's good.
Let's settle for 2 and call it a draw.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. That's really amazing. I love the university story. That's just classic. Absolutely classic. Yeah. And what a shame. What a shame that that's how they think. But I think what is great that they've had you to help some of their teams, and that hopefully will help in the future with other students that they have to teach. So, you know.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, so after not getting your O-levels, not going to college. How?
It's brought it all back, Michael. It's brought it all back.
Yeah. What happened then? Did you go and look for a job, and what job did you get?
I went. I was looking for a job, and at 17, when potential employers are saying, "How have you done at school?" And you say, well, not as well as my father was really hoping. But I ended up with a job as a trainee credit controller, which is a posh way of saying debt recovery agent.
Yeah.
And it was working for a company called FKI, which I think they still do it, car park access controls and car washes, all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but bearing in mind, I had no experience of debt recovery, but I did rather well at it, really rather quickly. Even at 17, my boss was surprised at how quickly people that had customers that had previously said they weren't paying or they couldn't pay started paying. And it wasn't through veiled or actual threats. It was just through dialogue and understanding, and perhaps taking on some of my mum's skills of listening and understanding, and then going from there.
Yes.
And then I evolved. Now, you may not judge me harshly, but your listeners might. I ended up working at what was the Halifax Building Society, which went on to become the Halifax Bank, which is, you, your listeners, and I actually own part of, because it failed. But that wasn't to do with me. I'd left long before then.
Yes.
I promise.
Promised. And what did you end up doing there?
I was passionate about learning and development. And I had, part of what I did was really frustrate and annoy many external consultants and internal bosses as well, who were wasting time, energy and budget in training and learning interventions that just didn't work. Mm-hmm. They just happened, and that was it. You're left with lots of PowerPoint slides, a little handbook, and a lot of hope that you go and apply something that would, improve you or the team or performance. And so I got involved in operational performance improvement, which is looking at parts of the organisation and saying, this is how we're doing. How can it go better? Or what's going well, and how can it go even better? And look at that. So that's what I was doing at the Halifax.
You must have missed something out, because how did you go from debt collecting to learning and development at the Halifax?
It's the thing is, at that time, the Halifax was really rather fluid in terms of where you could do and what you could do, because there were always opportunities. Because at that time, 1986 or 7, was it? It was still a thriving mortgage lender. It was still evolving, and it had some really good people leading it as well, and good bosses operationally. But I had the opportunity to go where my strengths were, because I found it very straightforward, not easy, very straightforward to say to my boss, look, I think this can be improved here. Can I have a couple of weeks to work on it and see if I'm wrong?
Wow.
And one way to get your boss interested is to say that you're open to being wrong.
Yeah.
And on occasions, I was wrong. There was no hope in hell of anything changing, with or without my intervention. And on many other occasions, thankfully, by working with some really good people who engaged with me, we collectively managed to do some really wonderful things, good for people, good for business, and good for the customers as well, which is always a win-win-win.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love that. So, and where did you progress from there? I mean,
yeah, I ended up in the general insurance department.
Right.
Don't start snoring yet, but I promise you, it's an interesting story. General insurance had evolved from 40 people working out of an old carpet mill into 700 people working out of Europe's largest single-site call centre of its kind.
Wow.
So it was massive change, lots of new bosses, lots of new people, and lots of change going on. And the bank appointed an external consultancy on a substantial 2-year project to get the operation running effectively and optimise it after it had settled in. And I found my opinion was, out of the 20 consultants that they had there on a 4-figure sum per person per day, on £25 per person per night, food and drink allowance, and 40p per mile driving from down south up north, I thought we were potentially getting scammed, because, like the emperor's new clothes, lots of consultants turning up, some really good ones, by the way, really good ones, and lots of not so really good ones. They turned up and they were just rehashing what they'd presented elsewhere, not designing it to what we required, what we were paying for, and what our staff actually deserved. And it wasn't interactive, it wasn't learning, it was training. It was sit and listen, do this, and life will be wonderful. And it's just not simple. So I went to my boss, the MD, a gentleman named Howard, and said, look, out of 20 of these, most of them aren't delivering value. The contract needs revisiting. And it was revisited. And then just around the same time, my father passed away unexpectedly. And I then went to Howard and said, look, I can do what these people are doing much better than most of them, not nearly as good as a couple of them, but life's too short. If I've not gone within 6 months, get rid of me. And apparently, and this may be the record that remains in place, I was the first and probably last person to go to him and say, get rid. Because that was his job if there was a restructure. Then one of the really good consultants that I respected a lot and trusted immensely from that group had approached Howard and asked if he could speak with me about going to work in his business.
Wow.
And Howard gave him permission. And for me, it was the ultimate compliment. Go and do what I know I can do, know what I love to do, and contribute and support, educate, and perhaps entertain occasionally as well to help them along. And so I was invited to leave a very nice job, a very convenient job, a very enjoyable job on a nice salary with then good pension, good benefits, annual bonus, a mile away from home, to go and work in a role that I was going to really excel at, really love, and feel wonderful about. So at 3:00 one Friday afternoon in October 1999, I had my leaving presentation from my boss. A few hundred people came round and applauded and wished me well, and a beautiful big card, a lovely pen, and a very nice bottle of champagne. And 10 minutes later, my new boss rang me and said, would you mind asking Howard if you can stay at the Halifax? I'm about to take the business through bankruptcy. So that same night, I was the only person not dancing, laughing, or enjoying myself at my leaving do.
Yeah. What, did that actually happen at your leaving do?
Oh, it was the Friday afternoon, 3:00. There's my presentation. Good luck, Scott. Go and enjoy yourself. Keep in touch. And 10 minutes later, the phone call from my new boss.
Oh my God.
So first of all, I was too embarrassed to go to Howard, who I'd said, if I'm not gone within 6 months, get rid.
Yes.
And we were only 8 weeks in. I could have just trod water for 4 months or something. No one would have noticed.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, I'm going. So after my leaving do, after I'd sobered up the next day, because I really needed a drink that night, I probably couldn't afford it. I don't know. I started thinking, what the heck am I going to do? At that time, I'd gone through a divorce and financially damaging. And I'm thinking, goodness me, how am I going to pay my mortgage? I was at the Halifax, we've got cheap mortgages and all these things. And I foolishly rang the bank and said, look, I've just been made unemployed. 10 minutes after I thought I'd got a new job. And, just to let you know, things are a bit tight, but payments will be kept. And then I rang the credit card company because I was getting this new job. I spent a couple of grand, not much, but a couple of grand on things. And they saying, I'll keep up minimum payments, but it should be okay. And they cancelled my cards.
Yeah.
So not only did I not have any regular income, I didn't have any credit either. And because of the divorce, I didn't have much equity in the property either. So it got to the stage, and I share this because it's gone.
Yeah.
It's because it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's it's not a pity party. My sister Moira would bring, she'd go to Asda or Morrison's and bring me food once a week and things, which was always appreciated, but I did get fed up of rice and tuna.
Yes.
And then someone at the Royal Bank of Scotland heard about me and said, would you come and do, this is after about 10 months, would you come and do a project for us? With emotional intelligence for managers, and they gave me 60 managers to collaborate with. I couldn't afford a laptop. I had no PowerPoint slides, and it was a 2-day program, and we just spoke and we just shared, and we didn't even talk about contact centres, which is where these managers worked.
Yes.
And I'm happy to send you the testimonial. It wasn't uncommon for team sales performance to improve by 30%, management performance by over 40%, and staff retention was increased immensely. That it saved over £100,000 worth on annual recruitment costs. And,
but just to, I mean, obviously you're doing emotional intelligence for a reason, and you had to go through these events to help you with your own emotional intelligence. So I'm just intrigued. A, how did they find you? B, because, you didn't have a laptop, you didn't have a PowerPoint presentation, how did you convince them that you were the right person with the right credentials, with the right material even? Yeah,
well, very good points. They found it because they'd heard about me at the Halifax.
Right.
Someone knew someone who said to someone, perhaps Scott Watson might be able to add some value. And that's how it was.
Oh.
And in terms of me convincing them, because, and this is a wonderful thing in business, I think especially for small businesses that have to own the results, is for me, there's no stronger way to attract the kind of people you want to contribute to, support and collaborate with. There's no stronger way to do it than through a personal recommendation from a trusted source. In terms of the laptop, I didn't tell them. I didn't tell them that I didn't have one. And I just said, it's very interactive, it's very hands-on, and it was.
Yeah.
And we didn't need it. If anything needed drawing up on a whiteboard, we did it.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is why I love learning rather than training. There's a big difference. You know, I don't hate, I don't use that word. I do not enjoy public speaking. I really don't enjoy it. But what I do love is educating people and helping people think for themselves.
Yeah.
And for me, that gets me. Well, it's not what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's Amelia, because she's teething at 19 months. But it helps me stay out of bed in the morning and think today's going to be a really good day.
Yeah. I love it.
I do have a Mac now, though. I've evolved.
That's good.
I kept the house.
That's good to know. Absolutely. Yeah. And okay, so you got that piece of work. So what happened next? How did it progress? How did you then develop your own business from there?
From there, I got a testimonial. I politely insisted that my collaboration with the organisation would be a certain fee for a certain contribution from me, with certain outcomes very much in mind, rather than the number of days training delivered. Let's focus on outcomes. And I said, if I can help you and your teams collectively deliver improvements in performance, I would like a genuine testimonial on headed paper that I can use for marketing purposes. And I got one, and it was wonderful. And it mentioned the results. It didn't say Scott's a nice guy. I know his dad's a bit of a monkey in the child department, but it mentioned results, and it also mentioned what I was like to collaborate with.
Yeah.
High trust, low maintenance. So I put some investment into postage stamps and sent out the testimonial to a number of potential clients. A couple turned up, and that helped me start the business and really get it going.
Wow. So that's a really, really important point, isn't it, that you've just made about the testimonial. And, you know, you made it almost a contract at the beginning that they would write one if the results were forthcoming, because you were confident that there would be results forthcoming.
I knew I wasn't confident. I knew they would, because and it's not been bombastic or foolish or misguided. When I take on a project, I know what is a reasonable expectation in terms of value added, not time trained or time invested or all this kind of thing. I know what value I can add as a minimum.
Yeah.
And even now, it's not in a contract, but each time there's someone that inquires, the relationship is such high trust and it's so low maintenance, and there's so much value added in advance in terms of education, information, ideas, and also testimonials, that they know they're going to be asked for a testimonial.
Yeah.
And I said, don't write it if you're happy or if you're satisfied. If you're absolutely blown out of the water, if you're amazingly satisfied, write a testimonial. But I don't want you to be happy, because happy for me is average.
Love it.
And you perhaps need to give them a gentle nudge a couple of times, because these are big bosses, but they genuinely want to keep their part of the bargain.
Yeah.
And videos now. There's one video that works wonderfully well for my business, because I've got 27 websites now, because I'm greedy. That one testimonial is on most of those websites.
Yeah.
And it's a boss of a bank saying very openly that I wasn't going to get paid if I didn't deliver results, and they generated £8.2 million worth of value in 20 days. Should have gone on the profit share on that one, Michael.
Totally, yeah.
That one video really helps in terms of developing trust, in terms of developing credibility, and also, my goodness, Scott Watson and his team, they might just be the right people, you know, for it to work with us. And it doesn't work all the time, because it doesn't, but it certainly helps.
Well, I think it's a lesson for all the listeners that are, you know, wanting to get into business or even develop their business further from where it is. And maybe they're stuck, you know, maybe they haven't played on the, you know, testimonials enough. Maybe they need to go and revisit that. You know, we now have things like LinkedIn where people can write recommendations, and that's pretty useful, and it gives that, you know, that trust factor, and because people have to put effort in and actually write something rather than just tick a button to say I've endorsed you, which is worth nothing. So so fantastic lesson. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. On LinkedIn as well, just a thought in case anyone might wish to use it. If I know that people visit my LinkedIn profile, I can see who's visited, unless they're anonymous, of course. But if the video testimonial from the bank, for example, if someone's from manufacturing industry and it's a HR director there, I might still send them the video or another video that may be related to what they want to explore, what they want to achieve. But I'll also go and get a screenshot of recommendations off my LinkedIn profile and send them in an email. And because otherwise I can't expect them to read all the way through my profile.
No.
They're busy people.
Yeah.
So I might just make it a little bit easier, take a screenshot, send it out and say, look, these are from your industry. Feel free to contact them and check me out.
Yeah.
And that little step, again, develops trust because, oh my goodness, this Scott guy I've only spoken to, never met, he's telling me to go and speak with these people. Yeah. Now, if I wasn't trustworthy or things, I might not do that.
Fantastic idea. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And people underplay the bit about getting testimonials and recommendation, and they're shy about asking for it. So
exactly,
you're a Yorkshireman, so you're not really that
massive
shy.
Generalisation there now. So yeah, short arms, long pockets. Yeah. 1 of 7.
Yeah,
you should have got a TV. Okay, but I'll let you finish this. You're not going to edit this out, Mr. DeGroot. I tell you.
So you're not shy. Is all I'm saying.
No, if you did just said that, I think. Genuinely, just from my perspective, and I'm not wishing to impose on your good listeners my beliefs, but for me, if there's a big difference between going and delivering something and then going and delivering value in a high trust, low maintenance relationship where everyone wins. And what I find is I will be doing a disservice to the client, the trusting client, if I've already said, as long as you're amazingly happy, as long as you're absolutely satisfied that value has been delivered, not were the PowerPoint slide interesting, not was the tea, coffee hot, what was the environment. I don't give a monkey's. What I do give a monkey's about is someone trusting me and my company to deliver value for them. If there's a bump along the way, they're easily recovered because we set it up that way. If there's no bumps along the way, come on then, go do it. And people, when you're in that kind of relationship, and it's the law of reciprocity at its best, I would be doing a disservice to their organisation by not delivering value. And I would also be doing a disservice to my business by not being courageous enough for 10 seconds to say, oh, remember you did say, as long as you're absolutely satisfied and value had been delivered, would you be happy to write that testimonial for me? Yeah. And they say yes. Why would they not?
Yeah.
Why would they not? And this is why Amazon has 4 and 5 stars for this and 1 star for so-and-so. Where are you going to go? You're going to look where the stars are.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it might not be to your taste, but that's in business. That's why you have the dialogue in advance.
Yeah. I think that it's that bit in advance that I like, you know. Yeah. Rather than waiting until it's happened, actually having it right up front and not being shy of making that statement up front. So, thank you.
It's upfront investment in relationships.
Yeah.
And even when in my business, thankfully it's very rare, but just a few weeks ago, a client was disappointed with something. I became an easy target and I didn't defend my position because there was no position to defend. And I did say to this gentleman, who was a very nice guy, the MD of a company, would you please go and speak to, then I named the member of his team, before we continue this dialogue. I'd be happy for you to do that. Let's speak again in a couple of hours. He called me back and said, Scott, I'm really sorry. I just spouted off at you. It wasn't your responsibility at all. I'm very sorry. Well, apology accepted. See you soon. And that was it.
Yeah.
It's that level of authenticity. And also for business owners, going on an equal. I see it so often where new businesses as well as some established businesses that are doing really pretty well. They go in thinking, well, I'm going to get rejected, or he or she might ask this question that I'm not prepared for. So what?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Be a little bit vulnerable. Don't replace your own good judgment with my view, for goodness sake, but dare to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then get on with it.
Vulnerability is power, they say, isn't it? So,
well, I wouldn't say. I'd say vulnerability is sometimes quite terrifying, but it tends to work. But it tends to work out well. And I think if we're scared of something, or if we're backing off asking for the testimonial or even the business, when we know we can add value rather than just secure a sale, I'm happy to be vulnerable because for me it feels that I genuinely care.
Yeah. Okay, so that sounds amazing. And of course, running your own business must have some headaches along the way. So have you had some challenges on the way?
Yes, many. One just this week. The major headache for me remains the being, there's a Yorkshire theme coming out here again, Michael. Stick with me on this, is being appointed by a HR director, for example, who says, or a chief exec says, yep, we're going with this, Scott, send me the contract. They sign it online because it's all electronic and it's easier and faster for me to get these contracts signed and secured and then get planning and doing things. Is then you go, here's your invoice and it's 14-day payment from the issue of the contract, not from the date anything's been delivered. And then just as it's coming up to 14 days, you chase them. Then you put in touch with finance, who says, well, a purchase order wasn't allocated to this, so you're in a queue. It's going to be another 2 weeks at least. And that's just happened over the last 7 days with a client where the HR person appointed me in good faith. They were pushed by the big boss to appoint quickly.
Yeah. But
they hadn't done the paperwork. And just a few days ago, I withdrew services under contractually.
Yeah.
It's in the contract. I withdrew services. And now the person I'm coaching cannot contact me. Well, they can contact me, but they're not getting a response.
No.
But it's not my responsibility to say to him, and it would really ethically not be good either, to say, sorry, I can't support you as you're trusting and hoping I would, because some person in finance needs to speak with some person in HR, and you can continue to struggle with what you're struggling with. But, so payment, there is a very creative way to I've used to collect overseas debt.
Yeah.
Where a debt recovery agency failed. Well, they gave up. It's just a couple of 1,000 miles away, so I couldn't get in the car and pop over. And the group chief exec of this company said, well, we don't want it now. We've signed the contract, but we don't want it, so you're not having your money. That was a bit, and I thought, well, no, there's a contract in place under English law. And phone calls, emails, all failed. They wouldn't respond to me. So I wrote a press release about their company and the danger for UK businesses exporting to that part of the world. And at that point, the country in question was under investigation for World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Narrowed it down to 2.
Yeah.
And so I sent the press release to their global chief exec and said, this is a press release that goes out mentioning your company and its breach of contract. There's a couple of lines free for you to put in your comments as you wish. Please respond within 24 hours by 12 p.m. UK time. And within 3 days, the debt of a 5-figure sum had been paid.
Yeah.
Now, this is the thing, I believe, and it's Wayne Dyer. It's his saying, not mine, but I completely believe it. You teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. For me, it works. For your listeners, it might not. But try it on for a few days and see if it fits with you. Now, if I'd just said, well, debt recovery's failed, I've failed, we've not done the project yet, so we've not lost anything. Of course we've lost something. We've lost an opportunity. We've lost a contract under English law. We've lost a 5-figure sum, which would help me grow my business, invest in the business, and help my family as well. Of course we've lost.
Yeah.
So debt recovery can be done rather creatively. It's got to be done honestly and ethically.
And this is where your first job in debt recovery.
I'd not made that link, but yes.
It obviously paid off.
something paid off. Yeah, something paid off.
But
But we didn't keep in touch with them.
no.
But this is the thing.
Well, it's a shame, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, when that is a challenge as a small business, that people can take advantage of us and know that there wouldn't be any consequences as a result of it for them.
Oh, yeah, or they would think so, yeah.
They would think so. And you're quite right. Small businesses have to educate the big boys that there would be consequences.
Indeed. As a small business, I'm not subservient to you. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
And I ask the person appointing me, are you able to appoint me? Are you authorised to appoint me in my company? Yes. Well, the payment terms are 14 days from the signing, from the issue of the contract. Is there a challenge you would foresee with that? No. Okay. So there's no other reason that the settlement of the invoice wouldn't be made? No. And I check. It's not ask 3 questions and close the deal. It's been closed. It's saying, let's get clarity, let's get shared understanding, and let's own this relationship.
It's so important, isn't it? Because we don't like to ask those difficult questions.
Yeah, I don't see it as difficult, but just like, I've learned to walk and talk because my parents and other people invested in me, and occasionally I fall over, but I get up. But I don't see it as an awkward question. I would only see it as awkward if I was feeling somehow submissive to the person that's trusting me and appointing me to deliver value.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that is a I'm sure you have many, but that was a really brilliant one.
Emilia teething at 19 months. Yeah. But we're keeping her. She's lovely. She's beautiful. But that's just, she wants attention. And
yeah, it's painful. Don't you remember what it was like?
My mum and dad had false teeth, so I think that's
yes, the same here.
I think that's where the romance actually stopped. I think they must have thought, right, we don't want any more kids. Let's get our teeth out and just put them by the bed every night. That'll stop us if nothing else will. But, no, there are other headaches, but they're small.
Okay, so what about highlights then? What about some of the amazing things? You have covered some of them, but are there any others?
Well, just today I've been invited to speak at a conference of National Health Service medical practitioners, which I'm very passionate about.
Oh, brilliant.
Because it's not about just bedside manner. There are often times when you see GP or you go to hospital and you feel processed rather than listened to and cared for.
Yeah.
And the bedside manner is missing because they're so focused on hitting their targets and things. Mm-hmm. And so that's a lovely invitation. I just last year, our colleague Dirk delivered a program in Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
It's still a home-based business, and currently I'm sat in Global HQ, which is the dining room table, because we don't need it. So that's ruined the image for everybody. If they've not stopped listening already, they're stopping now. But this is the thing: we get invited to go across the world and work with some wonderful people. Recently, I became the UK's only master trainer of the EQI 2.0 psychometric assessment, which is the world's only scientifically validated, credible emotional intelligence assessment for the workplace, which I use quite a lot with leaders and leadership teams and entrepreneurs. So that's lovely, not because of the title, but because the value I've delivered in terms of what I've proved, the 8.2 millions, the 30% improvement here, the 50% here, and a client generating £400,000 worth of savings in 16 weeks without firing anyone. They've kindly said, Scott would like you to have this accolade, which is humbling. It's absolutely humbling. So that's nice. So, it's good. Anytime someone calls, whoever they are, whether the most junior person calling because they've been asked to call and get prices, or whether it's the most senior executive, I see it as an opportunity to build some trust and perhaps help them out. And it's nice. Brilliant.
Okay, so what a vision have you got then for conquering the world with this business? Where do you see it going? How do you see it developing? Are you happy with where it is at the moment? Share that with us.
In terms of conquering the world, I'll stick to from Leeds to Birmingham because we can get there in an hour, and Leeds to Durham because we can get there in an hour. Most of my company's clients are based within those areas. We work in Wales. We've also worked in France, Holland, beautiful place, and
lovely there.
France, yeah. And so I'm not too interested in conquering the world. What I'm loving doing is repaying the trust invested in me by people that want me and my company to help them. And there are many opportunities coming, and many that I will politely decline. And as you mentioned earlier, there's little known. My service is little known because executives don't at first resonate with emotional intelligence. They're technically brilliant. That's why they've become an executive or a leader, or they've got their MBA from whichever university, which is good, a reflection of their commitment to learning and application. But one thing that's rarely, if ever, talked about is what would help people want to follow this leader and work through desire rather than obligation. Give that little bit of discretionary effort where they come in early and stay late because they want to contribute, rather than if I get my overtime or if I leave early before my boss, he or she will think I'm lazy or not committed. So I'm not bothered about conquering the world. This next 12 months are going to be more speaking engagements, but not for massive audience, but for up to 100 or so people where I can actually do something and facilitate some meaningful learning rather than just speak. I can be interesting, but I'd rather people get involved in learning and enjoy the journey. And certification of the EQI 2.0, which I'm really passionate about. And if we can get more people knowing how to use it as coaches, as facilitators, as enablers of learning, that would be wonderful.
So it's really interesting what you say about, leaders and then having people follow them rather than, I don't know what the word that you use, obligation.
Obligation,
yeah.
Desire rather than obligation.
Yeah. And I don't know if you heard the story. I heard it on a podcast a little while ago. I forget the company's name, but the employees are clubbed together and put lots of money together between them to buy their boss a Tesla because they knew that was his dream car.
Wow.
I mean, that is just amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's if everyone or most people wanted to contribute, that's very different than everyone's contributing, so put a couple of quid in.
Yeah.
If people actually want to let their boss know, this is feedback from us.
I know.
It's a car, but it's feedback.
I know.
And it's
totally unexpected, of course. I mean, the guy was blown away, but I mean, it's a testament to how he leads his people.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful reflection of, even though I've not heard the story till you mentioned it, it's a lovely reflection of collaborative, transparent, win-win working.
And there's another company that, if you haven't checked them out, please do, who I've been following for a number of years because I'm a user of their product to help with my social media posting. It's called Buffer.
All right.
And Buffer's culture is incredible. They've got a totally open, transparent culture. And it's a great case study to share with some of your clients when you're talking to them, because not only are they open and transparent with their people, they're also open and transparent with the whole world. They show what salaries people earn. They show the profit they're making. They're showing their not the customers' names, but the amount of customers they've got, the churn of customers, their customer service levels, their response to queries, and everything on a website for anybody to look at.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's incredible. And, there are some great examples that we don't necessarily hear about that much, but there are. I'm rejoicing that there are some companies taking this stuff that you teach seriously, and they haven't got it right. I mean, Buffer made one big mistake, And when they made the mistake, they owned up to it and they said, we got it wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they wanted to, they completely made it transparent that if a colleague wanted to give feedback to another colleague about their performance, that they would put it on a website that was public. Guess what happened? Nobody wrote any feedback.
Yeah. This is the thing about speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
One of the main aspects of executive coaching that I do, which is a lot of my projects now, one-to-one with executives, is getting people to speak their truth to power. Because telling the truth to your boss, giving that feedback that's needed, deserving, and not an attack, it's there to help, or sharing an idea, or saying, no, I can't do that, when they want you to say yes on autopilot setting because they're your boss.
Yeah.
Giving feedback to your boss could be a creative way of handing in your notice, because who would want to give feedback to their boss when they think he or she is probably going to disapprove? And what about my career?
Yeah.
It's a bit like telling a new parent they've got an ugly baby. You don't do it. It comes with consequences. Sorry, it's never happened to me. It's never happened to me. But it is. It's that kind of, oh my goodness.
True.
Get curtains for the pram kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. When a leader, or indeed a business, messes up, one of the most effective things that you can do to not just be open and honest, but to restore faith and trust in you as a leader, as a business owner, and your business, the brand itself, whether it's world famous or just known in your village where you live, is to own up.
And it doesn't matter if you have, especially for some of the listeners that are aspiring business owners or already running their own small businesses, this could be relevant for people that are running a business with 3 people, or 50,000 people.
Exactly. And this is the thing about whether you're a florist, whether you're a web designer or whatever you produce. If a client says, well, I need it ASAP, find out when ASAP is, because they might think in 10 minutes and you might think, well, it's going to be a week on Tuesday when I've done everything else. You've got to have this clarity. And also when, the expectation is they ask for it or demand it and you jump, etc., you teach people how to treat you. Coming back to that a moment, you say, look, I get invited 2 weeks ago, Scott, can you come down to Wales tomorrow, deliver a half-day event because they really need this and they need it quick. I love the client. They're wonderful people. But I would be doing them a disservice by just turning up and doing some stuff that I'm not prepared without fully understanding what the challenge or challenges were and what outcomes from this half-day session were really needed, not just in terms of awareness and learning and skills, but how is it going to affect the organisation?
And I know what you're thinking in the background is I need a testimonial.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they've already given me one. They've already given me a testimonial. But another one on video would be ideal.
Yes.
But this is the thing. It's help people understand that you are there for them. You are there to serve them. But you'll be doing them a disservice if you try and do something quick that hasn't been clearly identified, hasn't been clearly agreed, and there isn't shared understanding of what each person's role is in it, ensuring it happening.
That is a beautiful response to the next question I was going to ask, which is...
Sorry.
No, it's brilliant. It's perfect timing. It's perfect timing, because I was going to say, if there was one bit of advice, what would you give aspiring business owners? And I think you've just given it. I think that is absolutely perfect.
Yeah. I've got another one.
Go on then.
Right. This is a LinkedIn thing.
Okay.
There are so many lovely posters of, stones in a river and a fountain with someone rejoicing in the sunshine and all this kind of thing, with some lovely sayings and sound bites. And there's one that keeps circulating on LinkedIn and Facebook: never, ever, 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 underlined, give up.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most foolish pieces of advice anyone could give someone, because it's such a generalization.
Yes.
It's not specific. And there are some things, even in the last couple of weeks, there are some things after 2, 3, 4 weeks, or even a couple of months of researching and trying to get going, I've given up.
Yeah.
Because it would be fun. My continuing would be a fundamentally flawed decision. It would be financially foolish, and it would add no value to the people that are trusting me to support them.
Yeah.
it's this thing about the emotion intelligence, self-awareness, impulse control, and reality testing.
And sometimes you have to give up stuff to let other stuff come in too.
Absolutely. Even if you don't know what the other stuff's going to be.
Correct.
And hopefully in some situations you will. But I know the distinction is knowing when to give up and what to give up.
Yeah.
Because giving up your whole business is possibly as fundamentally flawed as carrying on. It's, do I give up this bit? Do I allocate that bit to someone that actually knows how to do it, enjoys doing it, and can do it well, and can get paid reasonably well for doing it, and that will release me to do this?
Yeah.
You know, the speaking events, the invitation that's come through today, if that would have been, could you come down Tuesday of next week or Wednesday of next week, I would have politely said no. May I invite you to find someone else? Because I need for me to add value, I need to understand what they want, why they want it, what does success look like. That's general. What 2 or 3 things does this audience or this audience population, individually and collectively, want to know or need to know or want to understand or to do differently?
Yes.
And I need to think about this. But in small businesses, if you're in the creative industries especially, so well, it's going to charge them by the hours is not the best thing to do.
No.
This is thinking time. Well, think quick. You're not invoicing me for your thinking. I'll help you think quicker. And in my younger days, I actually said that to a web designer. So part of my role is helping people think better, more quickly, and make better decisions. And it was a foolish thing to say, and I apologised several years after when I met the guy again.
Yeah.
Because it's this thing of focus on adding value, but know what to give up, when to give up. And also, you don't have to give up forever. You can give up for a week. You know, a friend I've had a walk with today that's just sold his business, a very successful business, wondering what to do next.
Yeah.
Just wonder about it. Don't worry about it. It's knowing what to give up.
There was
some of it forever or just for a week.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And just coming back to a couple of earlier sentences about the creativity and stuff not being rushed. There's a great quote with a cartoon that I get an email every day from a illustrator called Hugh MacLeod. I think he's a Scotsman living in Florida, and the company's called Gaping Void. And he does these amazing, thoughtful cartoons. And one of them was, creativity can't be rushed unless the client is in a hurry.
And then the quality is likely to suffer.
That's right.
Then they're going to complain and withhold payment. And that's when the press release comes in.
Yeah. Scott, I have got one last question. And that is, how can people get in touch with you?
If anyone has lasted this long, discussion, if people like to get in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I think it's Scott Watson Summit, as in SUMMIT, at top of a mountain. They can link up with me there if they wish. They can also email me, Scott at MrEmotionalintelligence.com. That's MREmotionalintelligence.com if they wish. And also, if you're happy for them to do it, Michael, if they want to come back through you with any questions, I'm happy to come back through you and share some thoughts if they wish.
Yeah, brilliant.
And if they don't wish, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Just never replace your own good judgment for my views.
Scott, it's been an absolute delight. I've learned a huge amount. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your tips and strategies that you're using in your business to help you grow your business and be successful and be valued and give value to your clients. Thank you so much. And I hope we'll meet each other very, very soon.
Absolutely, we must.
But for now,
get it sorted.
I hope the sun is shining in Yorkshire, and we'll see you very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for your listeners' attention as well. And take care. Lots of love.
Bye for now.
See ya.
Staying Alive UK. Share your story.